Have you ever felt annoyed and frustrated at saying the same thing over and over and over again, but having little impact in creating behavioral change in the human being that you're trying to connect with? If you're nodding your head, my friend, I feel you. I feel your pain. We've all been there, done that, and worn the t-shirt. And that is exactly why in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to influence anybody without preaching and without telling them what to do. So without further wait, let's get it. Now, before we get into the meat, I need to hit you with some context. And that context is on the social learning theory developed by a dude called Albert Bandura, who proposed that human beings learn new behaviors through observation, imitation, and modeling others. Now, I'm definitely going to grossly oversimplify this theory, but it suggests that when we observe the consequences of other people's behaviors, we are more likely to imitate the actions that are positively rewarded and avoid the actions that receive a negative response. And in turn, what occurs is from these experiences, we acquire knowledge, we acquire belief systems and attitudes. And hey, why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you this? Well, if you want people to stop being late for work every single day, if you want people to have more passionate, enthusiastic, and exciting customer conversations, and if you want people to exhibit more vulnerability in their conversations internally and externally, then my friend, I need you to know this. I need you to know that it all begins with you. It all begins with you and your behavior. But here's the problem. The problem is a lack of congruency, meaning the words coming out of your mouth don't match your behavior. And as a result, when you request behavior in others that you aren't exhibiting, there's a disconnect. Meaning, if you tell others to stop being late for work, yet you are late every single morning, there's a disconnect. If you tell others to have more passionate customer conversations, yet you sound disinterested every single time you pick up the phone, there's a disconnect. And if you are telling others, hey, our core value inside of this business is vulnerability, you need to exhibit that. But you, my friend, aren't showing authentic vulnerability at the appropriate time, then there's a disconnect. You feel me? Okay, people, when it comes to the solution, I'd love for us to explore these 3 simple steps. Now, step 1, identify the behavior that you wish others to exhibit. Step 2, uncover the one vehicle that you're going to use to personally exhibit and embody this behavior. And step 3, reward this behavior so you can create positive change in your organization at scale. Let's now walk through an example to give you a little bit more clarity on how that 3-step process would look in a practical sense. Step 1, let's assume that the behavior that you're looking for others to embody and exhibit is that of vulnerable conversations, because in your company, one of your core values is that of vulnerability. You want people to have authentically vulnerable conversations internally and externally. Sounds cool, right? Check, boom, that's done. Step 2, this is the harder one. Step 2, you now have to think about your vehicle for igniting change. Your vehicle for igniting change. Now, for me, when it comes to inspiring vulnerability, there's no better way to do that than storytelling. Storytelling is such a beautiful way to humanize yourself, unlock human connection, and really spark change. Now, if you're thinking, where do I begin, Rav? I'd like you to begin with creating your very own story bank, a repository of a handful of stories that you would deem vulnerable, that you can use across various different formats, meaning pitches, presentations, in a one-to-one coaching session with a team member, town halls, whatever it could be. Now, here's something to think about. You want to ensure that the stories you put into your story bank are personal, not private, meaning you want people to feel empathy for you, not sympathy. That's from a TED Talk. I can't remember the dude's name, but I love that quote. Okay, you're going to have to check it out. Maybe we can put the link in the comments of that TED Talk somewhere, but I love that line. You want people to feel empathy for you, not sympathy. There's a difference. Now, how do you do that? Well, here's my take on it. When it comes to personal stories, you want to share ones that you've processed, are willing to share, and have tangible learnings from, because in that way, you're going to inspire change and from a healthy place without experiencing a vulnerability hangover. When you delve into private stories, you're robbing those you love from those intimate stories that are just for them, or you've got a ton of stories that you just haven't processed yet and have tangible learnings from, and that's okay. Keep them in that pile for the moment or forever. It's up to you. Now, the final thing I want you to think about is when sharing a vulnerable story, think about it like this. Ask yourself the following question. Does this story solve the problem of the moment? Meaning, in the moment, you may want to solve the problem of speaking to somebody in your team and having them overcome imposter syndrome. If your story does not connect to that problem or the underlying root cause of somebody's imposter syndrome, don't share it because it will lack relevance. What I'm trying to say here is ensure the story you share in the moment, in the relevant scenario, has relevancy. Otherwise, it will just create a disconnect, man. It will just create a disconnect. Now, finally, when it comes to rewarding others, I love giving genuine compliments, because when you do this in a meaningful way, it really makes somebody feel seen, heard, and understood, and it reinforces that behavior. And if you want to know how to do that authentically, I'm going to put a link in the comments to a previous video on how to give authentic compliments and boost your charisma. P.S. One really cool way to implement this is with your leadership team. Because if you have your leadership team embody this, they will give everybody else in the organization the permission to be vulnerable and exhibit this behavior. You can only have so much impact. What you want to do is empower the leaders to be vulnerable. The leaders will empower the managers to be vulnerable. The managers will empower the next in line. You feel me? It will just have this ripple effect. In summary, what I'm trying to say is congruency is everything. You have to be in alignment with your behavior, which is in alignment with the values that you want others to embody. Otherwise, there'll be a disconnect. We want to practice what we preach. We want to walk the talk and all of that good stuff. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, you're going to love my free newsletter that I send every single Sunday. It's going to teach you how to transform your influence so you can boost your career, business, and life. I'm going to drop a link in the comments, and hey, I'll see you on the other side. Peace.